Hi there, my name's Amanda Poole-Walsh, and I'm the founder of Astrology Hub. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I know you have many choices for how you spend your time, and I'm grateful and humbled that you're choosing to spend it with me and our astrologer guest, Linda Byrd. Now, I know that there's some reason why you've been drawn to learn more about astrology, why you're listening to an astrology podcast, why you may be tuning into the cosmic rhythms or the forecasts. And my guess is at the top of your list somewhere, I'd probably find having more harmony and peace in your relationships. I know that's true for me. Relationships are one of my main areas of growth through astrology. And I had one of those culminating moments a few weeks ago where I realized how powerful astrology has been in my life when I came home from a trip and met my daughter, Madeline, who just turned 11. I'd been away in New Zealand with my man for about 10 days, and my girls stayed here on Maui with their daddy. And one of the first things that my Gemini moon daughter, Madeline, said when I got home after she had talked my ear off for a good hour was, "I'm so happy there's another Gemini moon in the house. I really need to talk. And daddy's great, but he doesn't like to talk as much, at least not like you do." Now, this, my friends, really touched my heart. What I said to her is, "Madeline, what's so cool about what you just said is that you know what you need. And my hope for you is that you never feel ashamed or needy or wrong for needing what you need, that you just embrace that part of you and make sure you have outlets for it." She said, "Of course I will, Mama. I know I need to talk." How cool is that? Can you imagine being so in touch with your emotional needs at such a young age? Maybe you were like that, but I know I wasn't. And I know that life would have been so different if I didn't feel bad or wrong for needing what I need. Can you relate to that? And so this really fires me up, and it's why I'm so excited about the virtual relationship workshop that Rick Levine is running for us this weekend. Because the only reason Madeline knows about her Gemini moon is because I know about mine. And I've taught her what that means. And I've been able to pass that gift of self-understanding and love on to her. And you can do that too. My guess is you probably already do it in so many different ways. But Rick's going to share 4 different ways to look at your chart when it comes to relationships. So starting with your natal chart and what you need in relationships, and then moving to 3 different synastry or compatibility techniques that you can use to see how your energy impacts the people in your life and vice versa, and the unique relationship that you and a loved one create together. So the new quote unquote entity that you're coming together creates. Registration's open through tomorrow because we start class tomorrow night. And so you can just go to astrologyhub.com/relationships to join us now. That's astrologyhub.com/relationships. And if you can't make it live, no worries. The recordings will be available within 24 hours of the live event. Now, can you imagine a world where people understand and embrace who they are and grant that same level of compassion and understanding to the people in their lives? I dare say the ripple effects of this would be astounding. And of course, it starts with us. If you're in the Inner Circle, make sure you check your email, search for a recent email from me to get your discount code, and I hope that you will join us this weekend. Okay, now on to our show topic for today. We're featuring a new Astrology Hub astrologer, and this is the first of many shows I'll be doing as we gear up for 2020, talking at a high level about what's coming our way and how you can best prepare to meet the energy. Linda and I get into some really interesting territory in this talk. She introduces a term I hadn't heard of before, and that's Stargate, something she works with extensively, and she talks about the importance of maintaining a high level of energy or vibration and moving away from fear as we move into the intense astrology of next year. A little more about our guest today. Linda Byrd has been a personal growth consultant and astrologer for over 20 years. She left the corporate world to study NLP, graphotherapy, and energy psychology. She volunteered with the Aspire Foundation for 10 years, where she learned transformational astrology and earned a level 2 evolutionary astrology certificate from Stephen Forrest. She's a certified dream coach, a level 3 Stargate facilitator, Reiki master, advertising sales manager for the Mountain Astrologer, and is president of NCGR in Sacramento. Linda uses astrology to guide her as a conscious awakening coach and loves conducting experiential workshops, sharing what she calls foundational astrology. And today, Linda gives some really great, tangible ideas for using the last few weeks of this year to really prepare our internal states so we can take advantage of the rare opportunity that 2020 has in store for all of us. I hope you enjoy her gentle wisdom, and I'll look forward to meeting you again on the flip side. Linda, thank you so much for being here for your Astrology Hub debut.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited and honored to be included.
The same here, Linda. All right. So like I said, this is the first time our audience is getting to know you. Would love to hear about your journey to astrology. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, it was kind of by accident. Well, I shouldn't say that. Everything happens for a reason, right? But I've always been interested in metaphysical things. And so I was just at a bookstore and saw a little post-it that said that a class was getting started in the early 80s. I think maybe 82, 83, I can't remember. And I just felt drawn to attend. And that just kind of started the whole thing. And then when I really got into it, I've been working with a nonprofit called the Aspire Foundation. And we did workshops with astrology. And that's where I really just saw the gift and understanding, why we're the way we are and the unique gifts that we all bring.
How old were you when you saw that little sign in the bookstore?
Oh, so in the 80s, I must have been, let's see, what is that? Maybe 30s.
Okay. And what were you doing before then?
I was a dental hygienist. Well, I was a dental hygienist, and then I went into other things from there. But astrology was always in the background.
Wow. Fascinating. Okay. So, Linda, let's just talk a little bit about 2020. You're going to be one of our featured Inner Circle guides next year. And so you'll be joining us for the forecast event that we're having in January. But can you give us just a big picture perspective on why you think 2020 is such an important year astrologically for all of us?
Well, obviously we have the big conjunction that everybody's going to be talking about. And what I've come to, I guess, land on for now is that we all have our own filter and how we interpret what's coming through in 2020. And my particular perspective is that it's all good. I've been working with something called a Stargate, and I had an experience with a Stargate where I actually experienced the energy of the planets, and I was overcome with love, that I feel that they have a consciousness and they love us. And so when we look at, Saturn and Pluto, the natural reaction is, oh my gosh, But when you look at it from a different place and saying, why are they lining up and why are they coming in this configuration at this time? It feels like there's a gift in here. It's very dynamic energy. The whole year has got a lot going on, as you know. And I always look at Neptune and Pisces kind of overseeing it all. And so it's hard to know exactly how it's going to play out. I think that it's important for all of us to hold a higher vibration or not to feed the fear. And it's hard not to do because every day there's a new, oh my gosh, In fact, right now in Northern California, or West, I think it's Central and Northern, 800,000 people are going to be without power. And I'm thinking, is this like a preview or a prelude or preparation for what might be happening next year? It's hard to know, but this is you don't realize how much you depend on electricity.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And my family's in the Bay Area. And so I've been texting with them and I said, well, this is probably a good time for you guys to think about getting on solar, like all these, but it's not just that. It's all the places where we have these dependencies. Look at technology. It's like if technology goes down, if any of these things that we're literally running our lives on that we don't really have control over.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, Linda, this is kind of going on a sidebar, but I used to think, well, if we can't depend on the systems, we should probably have our own systems, right? So we should have water catchment and we should have solar power and we should have our own farms so that, we're not dependent on especially on Maui, if the boats can't come over here or the planes can't come over here and we're all dependent on Costco and Whole Foods, we're in big trouble, right? So it's like, well, we probably should be growing our own food and all this. But then, and I don't mean to, this might sound a little bit doomsday, but then I watched on the Big Island where I was having all these kinds of thoughts. A few years ago, the volcano erupts and wipes out most of the farms and most So it's almost like, the things that we do to defend ourselves against our dependencies, we can do what we can do, but at the end of the day, we're here, we're human, we are interdependent, we are connected. So it's like there's nothing you can do to completely isolate yourself from any risk.
Right. And this is where, when I heard on the radio this morning, and then I looked at the map on all the places that were getting affected, I immediately wrote to all my friends in those areas to say, I have power. And if you need to put your food someplace, or, I don't have a lot of room, but just to make.
Yeah, Linda, can my parents come over?
Sure.
And actually, my three brothers and their wives and their kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a time where we do depend on each other. It's really looking at what this kind of thing happens. When this happens, is to look at kind of how we fit into the big picture of things, and how we do need to stand up or show up for each other. Because, to think we don't have our cell phones working or our computers, things that we prioritize, it's a wake-up call to make us really look at how it is. And the other thing, I think that through all this time, we are being asked to become more self-referenced, and to not be influenced by the bad news and the craziness going on around us. Because it's like you're a ping pong ball with everything. If you're really caught in the 3D and you think this is all there is, then you could be kind of going a little crazy right now, because there's a lot of fear that's getting kicked up. And this is where I think, as astrologers, we can look and see what to expect and the different ways that may play out. I think that we have an influence on how that plays out. I think that if we just buy into the fear and to go with the massive energy, I think it can be a really bad thing.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's a really interesting position to be in, right? Because people look to astrology, they look to astrologers for guidance on what might happen, and whatever energy you meet that question with, it's going to proliferate. So when we look at it and go, well, yes, these things are happening. Yes, there's going to be big changes. Yes, there's a lot of dynamics playing out. And yes, we still don't have to go into fear over it. We still can meet it with an open heart, meet it with curiosity, maybe even meet it with a sense of vision and responsibility, in our role. And maybe our role is just to help keep the energy high, like you said. Not high. I don't want to say like, new age, we need to like go all love and light on everything, right? But at the same time, it's, if we can keep our vibration as clear as possible, that is a service.
I totally agree. And that's what we can control. We have no control over the other things. But I think this last year, maybe longer, we've been really asked to go inside and do our own inner work, and to let go of the lower vibrations, the fear, self-judgment, all these kind of things that hold us in the lower vibration. And I think we've been given opportunities and being asked to let go of some of these things. For instance, this whole being invited to be part of the Astrology Hub is such a big honor, and I take it as a big responsibility to show up in the best way I can. And it's like every time I thought about it, I'd kind of just like my heart would go, oh, and I was thinking, what's this bringing up? And I was really feeling like this, not good enough, the thing that a lot of us suffer from. And so by chance, and this is where I really bring in the Neptune and how we are always taken care of, and we are guided, and gifts are all around us. And so I happen to remember I'd done a trade with a friend who does hypnotherapy last year, the year before, I don't know. And I didn't do my share of the trade. I didn't take my share of the trade because, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I had anything going on. And I was thinking about this call, and I thought, I'm still like really nervous. And so I emailed her and I said, can I cash in on my share of the trade? And because I have this fear. And so I met with her yesterday, and we went all the way back to where it came from. And I won't go into the story of it, but we just worked with that energy. And I just felt like we have those kind of gifts to when we're stuck and I can't get to it by myself, then we have the resources for people to help us with these things. And so we worked with it, and I saw where it came from, and I saw, that was kind of silly. And then, so we ended, and I thought, now I'm looking forward to it instead of dreading it, because before I just had this undercurrent of, I don't know anything and blah, 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 and dropped into the sense of it's all perfect. Everything happens for a reason, and that I do have a message to deliver. And it is about using our charts. I mean, the gift that we have as astrologers is to really see, and to not look at these planets as bad or punishing or scary, but to look at them as wanting the best for not only ourselves, but for humanity, because we are evolving. And yes, we are going through, the tear down stage and the looking at these kind of things like, as within, so without, looking these kind of things that, why am I feeling this way? What is my fear? Where did it come from? And dissolving that, so that I do think that I think that we all are love. I know this sounds really new agey, but I think that we buoy up to that. I think we come in as love, and then our story starts to take effect. And in my case, this is like I was, 1 year old when I got this belief that I wasn't as good as my older cousin or whatever. It's just, there's silly things that we all experience in our own way. And, but that takes in this fear or this belief that's a lower vibration. And as we go in and we release these, I think we naturally buoy up, to the higher vibration. And that's what we as astrologers have the ability to see what's going on. We have these spotlights to say, look at this, pay attention here.
There's so many things about what you just said that I love, because essentially one of the things you said is that once you saw that fear, you were able to meet this recording time with joy and enthusiasm. But as long as that other program was running in the background, it's hard to access that, right? Like you said, it was hard for you to buoy up into that place of love. So the weights that are on our ankles that keep us back from being able to access those higher states of truth and reality, really, because that's really who we are, right? That to me just thinks, as we're looking at 2020, it's like, and I don't know if we ever get rid of all the programs that are lower vibration, but I do know that each one that we chip away at, each one that we let go of, it does enable more of the pure expression of who we are to come through more clearly. And so I think that that's part of what we can be doing as we prepare for 2020 is to just continue to look at those things, those programs, and where can we ask for the help? Like, that's the other thing I love about what you said. You'd forgotten that you had a resource available to you to help. So for all of you out there, where are those resources that you've just sort of forgotten? Oh yeah, that person offered to help me. That person, I ran into a friend at the coffee shop the other day. She was about to give birth. She has a 2-year-old at home, and she was talking to me about how hard it is to be at home right now. Her husband's gone working most of the time. So it's her and the 2-year-old. She's 9 months pregnant. You know how it's so uncomfortable, right? And I was like, gosh, is there anyone that you could trade play dates with, like a friend who also has someone little, and you can take turns? And she's like, God, yes. I've had 2 people offer that to me several times, and I just haven't taken them up on it. Well, call them up, take them up on it, because they need the help too. It's not just you, you both need it. And what's the program running that makes it so that we don't ask for it? I'm not worthy of it. I'm going to be a burden on someone, whatever it's running. So there's so many in your story, so many things that I think we can take with us as we are preparing ourselves, mind, body, and spirit for what is going to be a very big transformational year for all of us.
Right. Exactly. And I think that there's just a feeling of letting go of the feeling little me has to do whatever, that we all do have a gift to give, but we don't know what it is because we take it for granted, right? So it's before I work with any client or a group, I always turn it over. I just say, please get me out of the way, let the highest good come through for Amanda or for whoever it is, for the Astrology Hub audience. And to just trust that the energy that comes through or the words that come through are what somebody in the audience needed to hear. And it's practicing being present and not being too much in our heads, because I think fear lives in our heads. But if we are more heart driven and we listen to what feels right, and you can only do that if you're present, then we're guided. Then we could deliver the gift that we have to offer. But as long as I have to figure it out, or, we're caught in the whole program of what's going on, I think we can still help, but it's not quite as rich.
Linda, it's very clear to me why you are going to be on the panel for us for 2020, why you're going to be a guide. Your energy is so beautiful and gentle. It's so nice. That's one of the things I love about what we do and how we do it, is that each guide, their own energy colors the experience for our members. And so we go on this journey, we go from the energy that they bring in. And the most amazing thing is they always bring in the exact energy we need for that month. Whatever is external and internal events are up and highlighted for us. We have these guides that it's like the energy matches, and we always look at it because this is going to be we're embarking on our 4th year. And so it's always amazing to look back and be like, oh my God, that was perfect. Like this person came in at this time and this person came in. I'd love to say that we perfectly plan it, but of course we don't. It worked. You said something so interesting in the beginning that I want to circle back to, because I think that probably people want to know. You said something about this Stargate that you've been working with, and that has enabled you to have an experience of the energy of the planet. What is Stargate?
Well, I have my traveler Stargate. I'll just show you. It's right here.
Whoa. Okay. So they can't see if you're listening on the podcast, they can't see, but I just want to describe it. It's this gold, like sacred geometry looking, thing. She's holding it on her palm. It's really beautiful. And there's like definite sacred geometry happening there.
Right. And that's exactly what it is. It's sacred geometry that was channeled in 30 years ago. And what it does is it serves as a portal to other dimensions. And I know that sounds really woo-woo. But the first time I was at an intensive, it was just a full day. It wasn't the normal 4-day one. But I was teaching an astrology class at the time. And I was asked we were going to be able to go, and these come in different sizes. And so there's a 6-foot one there. And we were invited to go and sit inside of the Stargate. And when I did, the facilitator said, and he's guided by a being called Alcazar, and he said, call on the planets that you work with. And when I did, I was overcome with this sense of love. I mean, I could feel how much they love us. And whoever thinks the planets love us? I mean,
Linda, I've had it too.
Oh, good. Okay, so
I mean, I'm not nodding my head in agreement. I have had those visceral experiences of planetary love, and it's usually when I don't expect it.
Right. Well, this is new to me, and it was mutual. I felt this love for them, which I had never thought I loved the planets, but it was so powerful. And I mean, I was crying. It was like this, it was love. And then he said, go and see them. And I'm thinking, in a rocket. I mean, I was trying to figure out quite the mode of transportation, how that was going to look.
You went right up into your brain, like, wait, what?
Exactly. Yeah, and then my consciousness just started to expand, and I could feel each one. They all vibrate differently, and I could feel each one. And as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I went to Pluto, and I thought, okay, and then out, and it just went way. I was out there in the Milky Way, and I became aware. I was a little teeny speck called Linda, but I was also everything. And it was life-changing. It was just to experience the oneness and I was hooked. I mean, the Stargate's been my thing. And in fact, that's part of what I feel called to do for this. Why I feel that I was invited was to introduce people to the Stargate and to the free meditations and that kind of thing.
Linda, I think you're definitely onto something there. Okay, so Linda, in July, when you're our Inner Circle guide, we are going, so it sounds like we're going to get introduced to working more with the Stargate as a portal, which, I think a lot of people in our audience can resonate with that and won't think that it's woo-woo or weird, because so many of us have actually had at least part of that kind of experience. And even if the sky called to them as children, or, a lot of people just felt this connection to the sky, to the stars, to the planets, to have tools to help us cultivate that and go even deeper with those relationships, it only makes sense. It really does. So there's that piece. And then I know that you also do a lot with embodied astrology. And so your mastery class teaching is going to be around embodied astrology as well. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
When I do a workshop, then it's more experiential. So it's helping people to understand how their chart plays out in their life. So it's getting to your story of what it is, or like your moon and your mom and how you've been conditioned and all of that, to understand that that's your version of how you live your chart. And in fact, I'm doing a workshop on Saturday. I'm calling it Bringing Your Chart to Life. And there's, it's like lighting it up, but also how does it apply to your life? And so that's where I feel people get astrology on a different level, because astrology is pretty heady. It's a lot of memorization of adjectives and that kind of thing. And I think that discourages a lot of people because it gets very confusing, but when you could apply it to life, then you get it on a more visceral level. It's more kinesthetic, where I understand that. And when you hear other people's stories and you say, oh, that's how a Pisces moon looks. And then you get it multidimensionally, and not just that I had to learn the description of what Pisces moon is. And so, yeah, in fact, I'm writing a children's book for adults, just embodying, Aaron the Aries and Tari the Taurus and those kinds of things. I think that when you could embody the energy or have a avatar for the different energies, people can understand it in a different way.
Linda, it reminds me, I don't know if you've had this experience, or those of you listening have had this experience, but when you're new at a job and you're hearing all these names of the people that you're going to be working with, and you're hearing their role and like what they do, it's hard to remember that. It's like, wait, who does what? And wait, I talked to this person for what? But then when you meet the person and now you can put a face with the name, you can put a voice, you can put an energy, you can put their expression and the way they move their hands or whatever it is, it's way easier to remember who does what. So it's the same thing with astrology. It's like when you're just trying to learn it on like a piece of paper or on a computer screen, it's like, personally, I can't feel it, so, and then if I can't feel it, then I can't remember it. It's really hard. So having these embodied, I love that you're bringing this embodied element so that people can feel it, have an experience of it, and learn it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the masterclass, at least the one that I have proposed, is more of it's like a recipe for how to look at a chart, because a lot of people learn astrology through books, or like I did, you kind of come in midway into something. And they're brilliant. They're excellent astrologers, but they're afraid to do readings because they don't know where to start. Because it's overwhelming. We all look at a chart and you just don't know where to start. But if you have a recipe, kind of from the macro to the micro, it gives you a pathway to follow, to make sense for your clients as well, so that they can kind of understand you're just not looking at this and making stuff up, but you're kind of bringing them along on the journey. And I've had so many people say, no one's ever done it this way, and it just makes more sense to me now. And so it's for new people, but also for people who have been students forever, which not really confident to how to put it together.
We have a lot of people like that in our audience, who've been studying for 40 years, but still wouldn't call themselves an astrologer, still shy away from giving readings. So I can see it being beneficial for, yes, people on all levels of the journey.
Yes, exactly. I felt called to do that one. It just seemed like it was a lot of people I know like that too.
Good. Awesome, Linda. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd want to share with our audience before, we'll be reconnecting with you again in January for the big forecast event. But is there anything you'd like to say to people between now and the end of the year, things that they can do to prepare body, mind, and spirit, and just meet this new year with an empowered energy?
I think one thing is just to not feed the fear, to not be part of the chaotic energy that's going on. If we can just hold ourselves in a different place by understanding astrology and understanding that everything is happening for a reason, and ultimately it's all good. It may not seem like it at the time, but if we hold the higher vibration, I think that's really important. And kind of what's coming in for me is Chris had mentioned you were to ask how I chose my month. And I thought it was kind of, you do the Saturn piece, right? You look and see when you're not traveling. I travel a lot. So when it makes sense, where it would naturally or, fit into my life. And the second part was to, look at your chart and see when are you being supported to do your best and to choose that month. And then to watch for signs, to see, the synchronicities. And I think that's another big piece for the audience to pay attention to the sign, because we have synchronicities that always happen, just like your friend who needed help. And she had the offers, but she needed you to remind her, to stimulate her, and we have a lot of that, these opportunities that come in that are really obvious things to us, but we don't take advantage. And so it's like, watch for the synchronicities because the universe is always supporting us. It's just things like that. Pay attention.
Pay attention. Okay, very nice. Linda, thank you so much. Can't wait to connect with you here very soon for the big 2020 forecast event and then to spend July with you mid-year. It'll be really interesting to see where we're at in July and what's transpired for everybody. But I do know that we are going to be in very compassionate and gentle care with you. So thank you very much for being a part of our inner circle next year.
Thank you so much for asking me.
All right, take care.
Okay. Bye-bye. Aloha.
Aloha.
I love that.
Isn't Linda wonderful? So gentle and full of grace and wisdom. I really enjoyed this opportunity to meet and connect with her, and I'm so excited to share space with her in 2020 as one of our Inner Circle guides. All right, this is my last reminder about the Astrology of Relationships workshop. Don't wait. It's happening this weekend with Rick Levine. Even if you can't join live, you'll have the recordings in your course library online so you can refer back to it in the future. You just have to go to astrologyhub.com/relationships and get started on creating more harmony, understanding, and compassion in your relationships now. And do we have an amazing episode for you next week? I've been excited to share this one with you for months. You'll get to hear an intimate, inspiring, and compelling talk with one of our favorite astrologers, Adam Ellenboss, a wonderful man, father, and astrologer. Make sure you tune in for that. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the show, you may want to do so now. This way you'll get an alert whenever a new episode is live. Thank you for tuning in here today, for being a part of our community, and as always, for making astrology a part of your life. I'll catch you on the next episode. Relationships, putting your dreams into action, your ideal career path. What themes are up for you to explore this coming month? Find out now by downloading Astrology Hub's free lunar cycle calendar for next month. The calendar gives you details on the upcoming week's cosmic curriculum, including the theme, mantras, daily aspects, and journal prompts you can use to work with the energy. Just go to astrologyhub.com/calendar to get your free lunar cycle calendar now. That's astrologyhub.com/calendar.
Hi, this is Chris Kaplan, the producer of the Astrology Hub podcast. This episode is over, but check the show notes for links to products and services you've heard about during this episode. And if you enjoyed our show, please subscribe and rate using the subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcasts.